Hello, welcome to episode 141 of Live Drawing. As you can hear from my voice, I've been fighting over a cold. I've still had to go to work and stuff, but which is, as we all know, it's not a lot of fun to have to go to work sick, but deadlines wait for no man, as I say. Just got to check one thing. Just want to make sure that it's going everywhere it's supposed to. Let me just mute this tab so it doesn't make a okay. Looks like we're everywhere we're supposed to be right now, so yep. There's just a little bit of a lag with one of the channels, so all right. I'll give you a quick update on the Undersea Hero. Before I got sick, I finished penciling that page we started last week, and I started inking it. As you can see, got the correlator swimming into the sub. There he is with his double lighted face, which I don't use double lighting very often, but I decided to do it there just because I thought it would be a cool shot. And then I finished this panel. I started inking Colonel Feathers, and then I started inking here, and then I got too sick to really do any serious work. So I even think that I need to redraw part of this, but I don't know. We'll see. It looks okay. It's not perfect, but we will get by. Yeah. So I'm gonna draw this for a little bit. That's the Undersea Hero update. I'm sorry it's not finished yet, but hopefully I feel better and I'll get it done this week. Hey Martha's, as you can hear from my voice, it's I've been fighting a cold for basically since I would say Thursday. I started to feel crummy. I thought it was just allergies because everything that's going on here, but yeah, well, I figure we'll ink one of these. I decided to work on this while I was sick and just like doodle a little bit because there's no repercussions if I mess up a sketch cover that's not for anybody except myself. So Warlock and the Infinity Watch was a favorite comic of mine when I was a kid. He was a really popular character, believe it or not. He had 2 ongoing titles and an event book going on. So there was a time when, oh, thank you, Jeff. Yeah, it's not a lot of fun. I've had to work through it, and deadlines wait for no one. So it's the way it is. I hope you folks are doing well. I did sign. I have one last convention that I've signed up for thus far. That's the CodCon, which is at the Hyannis Public Library in Hyannis, Massachusetts. I love doing library shows because it's really like the whole thing is just geared towards promoting literacy and reading. And I'm probably going to be doing free sketches for any of the kids that are there that want one. I don't know. Maybe I'll make it if you have a library card, you get a free sketch or something like that. The whole thing is to get people to read and check out comics and such. So, yeah, I don't know if anybody else read Warlock and the Infinity Watch, but it was a big deal to me when I was a kid. And Angel Medina, the artist on the book, would come around to the local convention, which was Mid Ohio Con, and I would bother him every time he was there and ask him about drawing these comic books. And for those people that aren't aware of Warlock and the Infinity Watch, it spun out of the Infinity Gauntlet, and the Infinity Gauntlet comic book ended very differently than the movies did, because the Infinity Gauntlet, the glove that Thanos wears, ends up on Adam Warlock with all the Infinity Gems, and he becomes the uh, omnipotent being of the universe. And Jim Starlin wrote it. It's a it's a it's a it was an important book to me, um, because I found it in a dollar bin and I just loved it. It was different. It was interesting. You had new characters I'd never heard of that were cool. The artwork was super exaggerated and detailed. Um, yeah, I just loved it. I actually ended up, you know, like I said, seeing Angel Medina at a ton of conventions, and he was always very patient and very nice with me with all of my stupid questions about, drawing these funny books. I guess I can turn the overlay on since we have questions. Um, There we go. Um, but the Infinity Watch was uh, Adam Warlock, and then that was Drax the Destroyer, who showed up in Guardians of the Galaxy. Pip the Troll, who I think has since made an appearance in the MCU. Gamora, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Moondragon, who I don't think she's made any sort of appearance. But these were cosmic characters floating around that Jim Starlin had written since the 70s. And Adam Warlock gives each one of them an infinity gem off the gauntlet. And, it's funny that Drax eats his, because he has kind of lost his memory. And he's not the tough guy Drax that we knew from the earlier comics. Um, but yeah, I just loved him. So anytime I get a chance to draw a cosmic character for myself, it's usually something from these. Drax eventually had gets his memory back and fights Adam Warlock, and then everything that happens in Annihilation. But they also created a character called Maximus, who was kind of like Drax 2.0, where he was like the quiet, tough guy who wanted to defeat Thanos. And there was a character called Lord Abyss, who was really cool. Um, you know, it was Starlin, so he was ripping. He had all that success with the Infinity Gauntlet, and then Infinity War, and then the Infinity Crusade. Like, he was in the middle of this renaissance at Marvel, where he was just cooking on all cylinders. And Warlock actually had. That's right. Drax thought his was a jelly bean. It was a fun line. Um, to be honest, the only character out of the group that ever got on my nerves a little was actually Pip the Troll, but I think that was part of his impetus of being. So I'm actually going to start with Drax. I decided to give him the eyes because that's what Angel Medina gave him. I wasn't sure if he had the white lenses or if he had eyes, so I had to look at the source material. In my mind, I'm always trying to live up to what I think the comics looked like, what the drawings were. Like, to me, when I looked at those Angel Medina pages as a kid, they were so, uh, they just crackled with energy. The cartooning and the faces and everything, in my mind, they're these like perfect drawings of like balancing illustration and cartooning, and they're wonderfully done. But now when I look at them as an adult, I can see that there was some simplification done in some of the drawings, and um, they're not as like they're just as important, but they're not as far away because I would say that my artistic journey has gotten me closer to those. I'm not saying I'm as good as Angel Medina, but like I can look at them, the drawings, and understand what they are much better now um, than when I was a kid. I didn't have you know enough art training or enough knowledge to fully look at an image and break it down. I could tell if I liked something, but I didn't know um, how they were constructed or what made it so special. Martha says Liefeld had a troll named Trilly. I vaguely remember that. I did not read a ton of the Extreme Studios books, but I think that character showed up in like Image Zero or one of those books that had other characters in them. Yeah, I definitely never had anyone ask for Warlock in the Infinity Watch. Yeah, like every time I went and saw Angel Medina, I would bring another issue and ask him about it, and he would sign it and tell me some story about it. And this was the first issue or the second issue that Bob Ullman inked after Terry Austin. And Terry Austin was actually Angel's dream inker. He told Jim Starlin, if Starlin asked him if anybody could ink it for you, who would it be? He said, it's impossible, but Terry Austin. And he didn't know that he and Starlin and Austin were friends. And that's actually how the first couple of few issues were inked by Austin. Oh, no worries, Brian. Yeah, I'm sorry. I saw your message. I meant to get back to you, but as you can hear from my voice, I got sick and I just forgot where stuff was, and I was literally just like trying to make sure I didn't mess up anything for work. And I was coming home and I would be like falling asleep on the couch and snoring on the couch, and I'm not a snorer, so that tells you how tired I was. Um, but that's okay. When I get these last few Undersea Hero pages done, you're gonna be so sick of me. So I'm just banking the goodwill, I guess. You're gonna be like, Ian, quit bothering me. I told you, I will be happy to draw her a Colonel Feathers, and I know you got a bunch of pages through the Kickstarter. I'll make sure that you get at least one good Colonel Feathers page. And I did bring the world record page just in case you folks showed up for them to uh, count the shrimp or guess the shrimp. Yeah, I only have the one other the library convention coming up. That's the only other show I've signed up for. If I somehow kick the rest of this cold by Saturday, I might go goof off at Wicked Comic Con. But if I don't, I will probably uh, stay home and work on Undersea Hero. I did do the first couple of Wicked Comic Cons. The first one was great. I loved it. I went back and did the second one, and I just financially didn't do as well, so I didn't come back. Um, I'm definitely open to going back to it. It's local. My friends are there. I'm probably gonna, if I go, I'm just gonna take public transportation. It's free to get in. So a lot of good artists will be there. If you're a comic fan in the area and you got time to kill and some want to check out some cool artists and stuff, I would recommend you go check it out. I've been working really hard on making sure that the things that the skin, stretches over, like cheekbones and stuff, are in better alignment than I had been doing. Jonathan, I didn't know you were such a Warlock fan. I mean, I know we're about the same age, so like the hype machine was real around him for some time with the killer. There were some really good store posters that they came out with. I was able to find a couple of them on eBay over the years. One of them I carried around to shows and actually got signed by Starlin Medina and Terry Austin. I just need to get. I have not met. I've never met Paul Mounts. He's a colorist, and he's the guy that painted that poster. I'm hoping to meet him at some point and finish getting it signed so I can get that thing framed. Yes, I am a person who would get an Adam Warlock poster framed. I don't know if that's. I don't know what that says about me, but probably just that I have a unhealthy enjoyment for some of that nostalgia. I'm actually surprised there's quite a few people here tonight. I just want to thank everybody for popping in. We got 7 folk in right now, just at this one little one. Usually when I say it's abbreviated, people avoid this thing like the plague. The Drax you see in the movies is actually, I think, closer to the one um, in the Infinity Watch, I think. Just based on his character, the way he was used. Jonathan says Infinity Gauntlet was an introduction of sorts to the larger Marvel universe, particularly the cosmic idea. So I don't know. It was obviously a large reason. Yeah, he was a huge character. And they just kind of left him out for the movies, and until Guardians 3. And I think Will Poulter's a pretty good actor. When I saw him in The Bear, I was like, oh wow, yeah. When his name was Drax the Destroyer, so he's a tough guy, strong character. Trying not to overdo it. That's kind of been what I've been concentrating on lately. I tend to over render and cook things. It loses some of its character and life. I'm not precise enough to be trying to be too precise, if that makes sense. In trying to be too precise, I tend to take some of the excitement out of it. I mean, Infinity Gauntlet was huge, Jonathan. It was just a massive event. That was, I would say when people talk about the events of their formative comic years, certain age folks, like people around my age, it was definitely Infinity Gauntlet. People a little older, it was Secret Wars. Martha's, I know what you're saying with the skull beneath the skin. I was looking back over my stuff from Art Flight last summer and saw a couple of goofs. Yeah, I mean, and drawing the skin stretching over it is tough. The good thing about this sketch cover is you can see that I can hold it up to the light and see through the paper, because I don't have a mirror on me, I can actually look at the reflection that way, and I can see some of my mistakes. And this one looks okay. This skull looks okay. I did. Did I? Oh man, must be terrible. Yeah, that would be a good app if there's one. If you find one where it's just like a an art dummy, let me know. That'd be a good thing to have on my phone instead of having to Google stuff. I'm gonna have to trade you a new one, Jonathan. I think that's what we have to do. Yeah, after getting that, I was able to get a Thunderstrike page. I think I shared it with you last week. I've been nostalgic for some of those comics I grew up with. I had vivid memories of the panel where the Thunderstrike is revealed, the mace, and it says on it, "The world still needs heroes," and that was, I thought that was just beautiful. I think it's one of the two best things that DeFalco ever wrote. The other thing being, if anybody is familiar with Marvel 2-in-1, there's an arc in that where the Thing in the last annual 7, goes into outer space and fights the Champion, who's this big cosmic character, and, and gets his butt kicked. But prior to that, he ran into the Sandman, and he actually lets him go. The villain, the Sandman. And after Ben gets hurt, he comes to visit him in the hospital, and they become friends. And if you look at, you hadn't thought of checking with a mirror. If you look at desks of old cartoonists and comic book artists, they generally have a mirror there, not just for checking artwork, but also for looking at themselves for expressions. So, like facial expressions, it's a really good way to, um, get some inspiration. Don't have to pay a model if you use yourself. And actually, I think some early cartoonists, like one of my favorites, Al Williamson, he used himself a lot. If you look at I mean, he was a big, tall, handsome guy. So, like, you know, he fit as like the heroic lead of these stories. But if you look back at like his westerns and stuff from the 50s, when he'd do those adventures, he was just drawing himself. Like, now this Infinity sketch cover, I've never drawn on one of these. It's actually quite nice. I got to say, it's one of the best Marvel ones I've had. And the paper is really good. It smudges a little bit, which I think I might need to grab a sheet of paper to put underneath. Or I can use a comic book bag. Yeah, I can use this. I'll just use this comic board right here so that I don't lose my pencil drawing before I ink it. But I would say this is one of the best Marvel sketch covers I've ever drawn on, as far as the paper goes. So kudos to whichever project coordinator was in charge of ordering that print run. Maybe it's because it was Hickman. They spent a little extra cash on it. And Jim Chung, who's just, if you don't know his work, he's just an incredible illustrator. Um, he worked at Marvel, in the '90s and stuff, but he really took off at a company called CrossGen, and he's just an incredible illustrator. Just beautiful work. The line art's just dynamite. And this is inked by Mark Morales, who's just a phenomenal inker, one of the best in the field right now. And you know, uh, is it Justin Ponzer that did the colors? Hold on, hold on. Where's the credits page? There it is. Yep, Justin Ponzer and Chris Iliopoulos. So they really swung for the fences with their creative team on this. So spared no expenses. The old man from Jurassic Park said, "Mr. Hammond, spectacular design, spared no expense." Hey Desiree, thank you very much. Yeah, you can hear it in my voice. It's not great. It's not COVID. I tested negative for COVID, and I didn't have a fever or anything. It was just a sick classic trademark, old fashioned sick, however you want to make the joke. Desiree, someone was asking me about the best after party events that I'd been to at San Diego, and I had to put the rooftop open bar webtoon party that uh, we saw each other at on that list because just that was pretty crazy. It was on a rooftop in San Diego downtown. It was overlooking Petco Field. They had an open bar, and you had to, at least for the artists, you were given like an admission coin. Like people who were in charge of this party were going around inviting specific people, and they invited a lot of people, but it was not everyone in the building. So, as far as exclusivity goes, free drinks. Talked to Fred Van Lente, John Boy Myers. Tons of artists were there. I saw Desiree, and there was some table games, like at a casino. That was a good one. Hey Eli, good to see you, man. Mr. Eli Stone is in the building. Phenomenal artist, and was the standard bearer for the Tick after uh, Captain Edlin decided to move along to other projects. I'm pretty sure your version of the Tick was the first one that um, I read after the Ben stuff, which makes sense because it was the first one that came out. But the wrinkle in it is that like the distribution of those comics to where I lived was not great at the time because I did not live in New England. Um, and I believe I had to order them through the fast system. Yeah, it was a cool party, and I'm not a party guy, and it was one of those where I remember I was talking to my buddy Jeff, Mr. McClellan. He wanted to go to I think it was like a Cartoon Network event, and he went there instead. That's why I ended up going by myself to that thing. And I'm totally anybody that knows me, I'm a head back to the hotel and go to bed early guy. Oh, no worries. I've been getting over a cold, so we're just doing a little bit of inking on the sketch cover. It's not going to be a long evening tonight. This is a Warlock and the Infinity Watch. It's from a book I read as a kid that I liked a lot. Here's one. Here's a random issue. Cosmic Marvel stuff. Gave people a look at the latest Undersea Hero page. Working on that. I was inking that, and then I got sick, and then I held off on inking the rest of it because I was feeling like garbage. So, but I will jump back on the sticks, as they say, and get back to it. Let's take some of this pencil off. Really simplify. Been trying to simplify lately, and I know that that's crazy talk to some people, but I'm really looking to find a better balance between, because so many artists I like simplify, and I was talking about how I have this vision in my mind of like this monolithic level of drawing perfection and detail of so many different artists, and Angel Medina was one of them who did the Warlock comics, and I did not have enough artistic knowledge to really know what I was looking at and break it down. But now when I look at it as an adult, I can look at it with far greater information and understanding. And even these drawings that in my mind were so complex, they made these artistic choices that translated so well in 2D space and made really simple forms look even more complex and dynamic than they were. Like you think about like Alex Toth and Jack Kirby. Like in my mind, those drawings are far more complex than the reality of them being on paper. So I've been trying to back down some of my over rendering because I think it really does take some of the life out of the pieces that I do. It does a disservice to the overall piece. And I know it's easier to look at detail and say, oh, well, that's, they spent a ton of time on that. It's easier to understand labor time than creative decision and skill. So, but yeah, there's the Destroyer. Drax the Destroyer. Hey, Doug Paskovich is here. Awesome. I hope C2E2 was great. I got some reports that it was a good show. He says he's been spending 20 minutes a day figure drawing, made some progress, then took 3 days off for his C2E2 and tried today and was right back at square one. Didn't retain any progress. Oh, sorry, man. That's frustrating when you're trying new stuff. This is a Tombow brush pen right here, actually. Yeah, they're great. I think they're really good. They're a lot like the Feud Horde pens that Pitt puts out, the FH pens, if you've ever messed with those, or the Zebra pens. They all have this like flexible tip. If you see them up close, they're very similar. I would say that the Tombow has a little bit more of a stiffness to it, especially the smaller one. These ones have a little bit more grace, but they're all kind of in the same ballpark. If you've tried the Kuretake pocket brush, these ones here, these were the first ones that I found, and I loved them, and they have a really excellent line. I would describe these as like artistic versions of what's the word? Flare pens. And then the Tombow ones have a little bit more bend to them, and the tip lasts a little longer. So I would say that they're if whichever one you find out in the wild, give them a shot. They're both worthwhile tools. Doug says Drax and original Wonder Man costumes are among my favorite character designs. Yeah, the original Wonder Man is cool. That is neat, yeah. The little dragonfly that's on there. You can see. Um, Drax is just cool. Like the collar, the skull. I don't know. The green skin, purple, green and purple. It's a cool design. I'd love to see you try draw him at some point. Take on those big geometric, like muscly shapes. Gamora, I thought in the movies was very much like the one in the comics. I don't know. People may disagree, but especially after she emerged from Soul World at the end of the original uh, Warlock series, when she came back. Yeah, because at the end of the original Warlock run, he ends up back in Soul World at one point, and that's inside the Soul Gem. Eli says he has a spot the Easter egg in the Illo contest on Facebook Reel. Not a single person has guessed yet. So, if anybody's friends with Eli, I don't know if you have a if you're a fully public profile or if you have to be friends with Eli. So, like, you can go check out that if he has a contest going on. And if people haven't seen the Tick short film that he did, I believe it's over on YouTube still. So, he did that for the anniversary event that was out on the West Coast that I couldn't make. Martha says I should make one of Gamora riding Gamora destroying ancient Gamora. I always thought she was a cool character, you know. Um, and I thought in the movies that she and Nebula they both had really excellent arcs. I actually think in some ways Nebula was my favorite character of all those movies. Let's take a look. Looks pretty good. Oh yeah, I know Gamera. Ye old Godzilla-esque kaiju features. There was a time when I watched a fair amount of those. I enjoyed them. I have not kept up with them. I haven't seen any of the new Godzilla movies, if I'm being honest. I think the last new Godzilla, I watched part of one of the new ones, and I just got kind of bored. Um, I don't even remember which one it was. For those who celebrate, today is the 30th anniversary of an absolute uh, legendary classic episode of The Simpsons. It was when Curly goes into the school and it's the talks about the paddlings. And if you don't know about that episode, well, that's a paddling. Um, Warlock had his run, and then he'd occasionally pop up here and there on some different stuff. There was a mini series that Tom Lyle did in the 90s after Drax gets his memory back, which was interesting. Um, all of this was before he showed up in Annihilation. And then for those who don't know Warlock's arc, I won't give away the ending that Jim Starlin gave in the graphic novels, but I love the ending of Warlock as as his main arc, we'll call it his main character arc. Jonathan says he enjoyed the Monarch series starring father and son Russells. Is that the episode where he gets his beard stuck in a pencil sharpener? I believe so. I believe it's also the Mole Man in the Morning episode, which that's another thing that I quote regularly. A series about the excruciating pains of every day in which I live my life. Um, good mole man and a good mole man to you, I believe, should be an appropriate response to any morning greeting that we're forced to endure during the work week. You should be able to just respond with "and a good mole man to you." And everyone should just know, because that would just fit my understanding of the universe better. There's so much crap I don't know, but I do know early Simpsons. I think I messed that up a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. Can't fix it now. Do I have or know anything about Substack is the question. I do not have a Substack, and I do know about it. Um, I haven't signed up for it because I have. Oh yes, the goggles do nothing. Up and at them. Uh, watch out, radioactive man. Um, Substack, though, I did not. I am not endeavoring in that direction right now. What I'm trying to do is do everything through my website. And my website does basically everything that Substack does, and it does everything that what do you call it? What's that other site that everybody uses? It's people they back each other. My brain is like Jello at the moment. Anyway, but it can do for pay subscriptions. It can do free subscriptions. So yeah, yeah, because I use a service called Wix, and it has everything built in. I'm actually building a making comics forum where it's got a discussion board and functions largely like a Facebook group, but it would be through my website, and you would not be giving. It would be free. You would not be giving Mark Zuckerberg any money to ask me a question, um, and that's kind of where I would want to be. God, why can't my brain work? Um, Patreon. Yes, I pulled it out. Wix can do everything that Patreon and Substack and all these other places do, and make my own basic forum and stuff. And I don't have to do any of the backing of multi-billion-dollar oligarchs, I guess. Can it do Kickstarter? Well, what it can do, and this is essentially what Wix does, let you have a paywall on several things. It can do it for pay, backend for just access for content. It can have for pay newsletters. It can have Patreon esque subscription services. And like I said, I worked with them, and they have a way to put your artwork on there to where they are not able to use your basic scrapers for AIs for programming. And that's why I've stuck with Wix. I will continue to stick with Wix until some other like uh, terrible thing happens. But it's all there, and that's why I'm not going to diversify out to more platforms. I'm going to try to bring things into the website, and I'll still have the stream on because I can stream it simultaneously too. It's on my website right now, so you can actually watch it on my website too. But you'd be able to watch it on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, etc. But I'm able to centralize everything else. My store will be there, like everything will be there. I will have a calendar that conventions can book me through if they want. Um, I just want it all in one place. I'm tired of running around with logins and worrying about things disappearing if a website decides to change its policies or something. I just want it all in one place. Yeah, yeah, it does. It does everything. I mean, and that's I know that people are like, oh, well, all these other websites do that too. This is just the one that I had started with, and they've continued to expand, and their customer service has been excellent. So, and as far as the store there goes, like you can have it be just through PayPal, like you don't, or Venmo, like you don't have to have it through a third party credit card or anything. I do my credit cards through PayPal, so like that's why you're able to use a credit card there. Yeah, I mean, if you haven't built up an infrastructure, you can, look at how your workflow goes. I just want to be able to log into one place, get all my messages, do all my orders, do all my stuff. Like I just want to do all my stuff out of one place, instead of like chasing constantly. And I believe there's an interface that it's either in development or they just launched it where you can take your item from your Wix store, and it will automatically, with like a few clicks, list it on eBay. Um, their SEO is solid. I haven't finished my SEO, but like even at the stage that I have it, I know I show up on people's radar. I don't pay for Google to add stuff. Hey, Dr. Mask. Excuse me. Well, I'm starting to cough, so I think we're going to call it a night. Thank you, everybody, for coming by. We had a good crowd tonight. Um, So I hope everybody stays healthy. And I hope everyone gets through the week okay. And I hope to see you next week. So thank you, everybody. And they don't pay me, so I'm just going by what I use. So, but thank you, everybody. Have a good night, and I'll hopefully see you next week. Stay healthy. Take care.